All right, cycle 1, week 21. Here's what I did in my class with my 5 to 7, 6 to 8-ish year old kiddos, Abecedarians and Abecedarians and Apprentice kiddos. So for timeline, I hid the timeline cards around the room, played the song, they ran around and collected them. Then we sat in the floor and they each held their card and played the song again, and they put their card down as we got to each part. And then we sang through the song a couple times, did the hand motions, and then I had them pick up the cards, like their original card, as we got to it when we listened to the song. So really easy. For math, the associative law for addition, I have a song that I use with my kids at home, and so I sang that for them in class a little bit. This is a big equation for them to learn, and the song is long, and so we didn't do it a ton, but I did sing it to them, and of course we'll send it out in my weekly emails to the parents. But once we had talked through and sung through the equation, we put our equation cards together. These are the cards that I made in my Etsy shop. And so first I started with these, which are I hope that's correct for you guys because backwards on the screen where I'm looking at it. So first I have these where there's just two parts of it and then an equal sign in the middle. And so we went through those, and they're magnet on the back, so you can come up and put them on board. And they did go with them, so that I was like, okay, so we're gonna make it more challenging this time. So I also, in that same file, I have them where each piece is individual, like this, instead of all put together, and so you have to build the whole entire equation. So I gave each of the kids, I think I ended up with like 3 or 4 little cards, and we sat down on the floor and we very slowly talked through the equation, and I'd have somebody give me a parentheses, somebody give me an A, and we just went through and built both equations, the addition and the multiplication. And so they did great with it. I was kind of worried it would get over their heads, but since I was the one saying what they were looking for, and then they just had a few simple cards in front of them, it was easy for them to find them. So that went really well. And then we looked at, you know, the similarities and the differences in the two different equations, and that was it for math. For history, we did the song, the hand motions. I used Driven by Grace, as I typically do, which hers were John Cabot, Samuel de Champlain, explored the St. Lawrence River. We did Hudson's Bay Company a little bit different than she does because of how we do it with our timeline song in our community, but it was like a sign language H, and then we do like this for Hudson's Bay Company. War, Britain, France, Maple Leaf, and Canada. So basically what she did, just a little differences based on what our community typically does. And then we used the visual cards, and each kid got a card and took turns coming up and putting it in order up on the board. And we did that a couple of times. They love these cards, so we did that. For geography, it was all Canadian waters. And so on weeks that we do all or majority water, I like to use my little sea creatures and have them swim to the different areas. So I would say swim to the Hudson Bay, swim to the Labrador Sea, and they move their little sea creatures around on their maps. For science, we started using the Driven by Grace emotions, where you do Arctic Circle at your head, Tropic of Cancer at your shoulders, Equator at your waist, no you can't see me, Tropic of Capricorn around your knees, and then Antarctic Circle down at your ankles. So we did that a couple of times. They could visually see it on their body. And then I also brought in, this is a deflated, like a beach ball that's a globe, and it will not hold air because I blew it up last night with the air compressor thing, and it was nice and full, and it has deflated through the day, but it worked. It served its purpose. And so I took wet erase markers, and you still can't see it very well, so if I were to do this again, I'd probably just use like a Sharpie, but I marked the Arctic Circle and then Tropic of Cancer, Equator, and so on. And so we threw the ball to each kid, and they held it up and they pointed to each one on the globe. So we've had this for years, and obviously it's not holding air very well, but probably Dollar Tree or somewhere like that would have something like that if you want to use that idea. For English, we used the agility ladder. I laid it out, and they hopped through the agility ladder while saying the different helping and linking verbs. And for Latin, listened to the song and did exercises while we listened to the song. We did wall sits, lunges, and like, I guess windmills, or like take one hand and touch the toes of the other side and you're kind of crossing your body back and forth. So that was new grammar. For fine arts this week, I gave them just a few facts about Bach. I basically wrote down what Stephanie in her videos, which I use hers every week to prep, and I've linked to those, but I just kind of wrote down the facts that she shared. Talked about that for a second, just a very quick review of what is the Baroque period. And then we listened to our music 3 times. The first time I paused it and pointed out a few things. This piece did not have nearly as many things to point out that I could tell as the one from last week. So I just pointed out a few things. And then they listened to it a second time. We turned the lights off and they can lay down with a blanket or a stuffy, take their shoes off if they want to get comfy. So listen to it a second time. And then the third time I told them if they wanted to like kind of wave their arms around in time with the music and, you know, move their arms around a little bit, they could. I think maybe one kid did. There is one of these like listening map things for this week's music. And we used this last week and it went pretty well, but I chose not to use it this week because really there's just so few things that I was able to find and listen to in the song that I felt like this is going to be confusing. So this week we just listened and it was fine. The kids did fantastic listening, no problem. So that was good. And then for review, also after we listened, we got our 3 listenings. We took just 2 minutes and reviewed our instrument cards. So I just scrambled them up. I laid the 4 instrument card families like this out, and then I scrambled up the individual ones, and I would hold one up and I would ask them which family it went into, and they did great with that. So just as a quick review of the instruments. For review this week, we did Blast Off, and so this one is really easy. Each kid gets a rocket and a dice, and I ask a question, we answer it, they roll the dice, whatever number they roll on, they color in that number on their rocket, and then ask another question, they roll again. If they haven't already colored in the number, they color that one in. If they roll a number they have already colored in, then they just sit and wait for the next turn. And so we just keep doing that and they keep rolling, and then eventually somebody fills in the whole tail of their rocket and they yell blast off, and then we erase and we start over. So they think that one's fun. They love that one. So that is, I guess, it for this week. So I hope that helps. And we're almost at the end of the semester, just a couple weeks left, which is crazy, but hope that helps as you are planning for these last few weeks. Have a good one. Bye.